Palantir and NVidia, two of the most widely held stocks, two of the big gainers in the tech market over the last few years, but this week they made very different moves. And so in this video, I'm going to give you my analysis on whether they are buy, sell, or hold. And in doing so, I'll teach you very simple methods on how to read stock charts so that you can know when to stick with a winner and when to sell one. All right, let's jump into the chart of NVIDIA first, and we go to my website, stockscores.com, which is free for charting, so you can go check out the scores on any stock you're interested in. So I want to, again, talk about NVIDIA first. And the first thing that we noticed this week is we are breaking through this resistance line. And we're doing so from rising bottoms. So rising bottoms is a sign of optimism. And the reason we can say that is because when the sellers are strong and pushing price down, they're not able to push it as far down as they had the previous time that they were strong. So the sellers are losing power over time. You can see that the stock score indicators have been above 60 for many months as the stock has been doing quite well. Once it broke this little downward trend line there and started this, we were in a buy zone when the stock score got over 60. So all of that's good. Now let's take a look at the shorter term time frame because there's some more important lessons here. Here we can see that cycle of rising bottoms and the upward trend line is still intact. You'll see why this is important in just a moment. Yeah, we had a little bit of weakness on Friday afternoon, but it's not breaking the upward trend line. And if we go to the 3-year weekly chart, we see something quite positive because we are breaking this little pullback. This is called a flag pattern, breaking to the upside. And so anytime you have a move up and a little pullback and then a break, usually you're going to continue the upward trend. As long as this floor at roughly 165 is held, this stock remains a hold. So NVIDIA at this point is a buy. If you maybe have some already and want to add to the position, I think that would be a reasonable thing to do. If you are a shorter term trader, I would buy it on weakness, on a pullback to the trend line. But for the most part, it's a good solid hold. All right, now let's take a look at PLTR, which had a pretty bad day on Friday. You can see that here on the daily chart. This upward trend line has been broken. We also noticed that we failed to make new highs and instead have made a double top. So the short-term signal, which we can see more clearly when we go to the 1-month chart, is somewhat negative because this cycle of rising bottoms has been broken. So in the short term, we have a sell signal. Now notice the stock scores are still pretty good. Anything above 60 for the sentiment stock score is solid. But if we go to the 3-year weekly chart, we see that the momentum is starting to slow. Now obviously the stock has had a great run and this upward trend line, aside from this little blip here, has been holding, but price ran away from the trend line. Anytime price runs away from the trend line, price usually comes back to the trend line. And I think that's what's happening on this stock right now. It ran away from the trend line here and it came back to it. It's run away and I think Palantir is going to come back to the trend line. It's not a real strong negative signal in the long term. In the short term, we have a sell signal, but the upward trend is still intact on PLTR. And therefore, if you're a long-term holder of the stock, I think it's still a long-term hold as long as that long-term upward trend line hasn't been broken. However, if you have a short-term time horizon, then I think in the next few weeks, we could see more weakness. At best, the stock probably goes sideways for a little while. And so if you have other uses for the capital, you may just want to move into those and perhaps look at PLTR as a buy on a pullback to the trend line and perhaps a break of a short-term downward trend. So if we see a little downward trend build over the next few weeks on the intraday chart and then start to break again, yeah, maybe you can consider it again. So two very different pictures on these two stocks. NVIDIA looks like a solid hold, maybe even a buy. It's getting a little extended, but decent potential to continue higher. While PLTR, I still like it long term, but in the short term, it's probably going to pull back. Now, every Monday, I send out an email where I pick stocks, and I've got a pretty good record for some big winners in those stock picks. I also teach a little bit about how to trade the stock market. And I encourage you to go to stockscores.com. This is entirely free. I send it out once a week. I don't spam you with a bunch of garbage. So if you have an interest in that, go to the Stockscores website, go to the home page, and right here you can see this link right there and click on that and you can check that out. The other thing that we're doing in the month of October is a 4-part education series. If you want to learn how to read stocks, I can show you how to read a stock chart in seconds, looking at any chart using basic principles that I'll teach you in these free classes starting Tuesday, October 21st and going until the Saturday of that week. A 4-part class. It's all free and I encourage you to register for that. Hope you've enjoyed this video. What do you think? Who's going to win? PLTR or NVIDIA? Put your vote in the comments and we'll keep track and see who is right in the long run. Hope you've enjoyed this week's video, and if so, click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, trade well.